What's the creepiest Reddit rabbit hole you've ever gone down? Story 1. Probably any of the users that are clearly existing in a different version of reality than the rest of us. The most recent I've run across is a user that's posted about being stalked by a celebrity, but only talks to them once every few years, but also they talk constantly so they can build a case. But also the celebrity likely doesn't even remember who they are. And also they've never actually met the celebrity in person, but they talked about dating 20 years ago. 2 accounts have made the claim and been deleted, and they were both at least a year old. So I doubt it's a troll, which is what makes it sad. Honestly, I guess it's really more sad than creepy. Creepy in the sense that the victim is clearly the stalker, I guess. I mostly just hope that whoever it is gets the help they need to get through whatever it is that they're going through. Story 2. I know it's probably been debunked or something at this point, but last summer I went down the Happy Valley Dream survey, or have you been having strange dreams? Rabbit hole. I had just had several very strange dreams that had shaken me up for some reason, and then that morning I saw a YouTube video titled, "Have you been having strange dreams?" and a thing on Instagram about it too. Really freaked me out and sent me down the rabbit hole on it. Story 3. Not gonna go into super specifics because I don't want to dox anyone, but here we go. I saw someone post a picture of themselves in cosplay on a character-themed subreddit. Nothing professional, clearly a person in their childhood home with a casual cosplay. I know why I did it, but I decided to click on the user and scroll through their post history. What greeted me was an extremely odd collection of posts about geese, cosplay posts, and memes about eating disorders and self-harm. Like, a lot of memes about eating disorders and self-harm. A whole community dedicated to joking about purging and starving themselves. People talking in the comments about these things like they are relatable and normal, not something incredibly harmful and dangerous. The further I got into this person's profile, the more personal information there was. They are late teens, still living with their parents, have a strenuous relationship with their mother, etc. So much information readily available, and so many signals that this person is not okay and has some serious issues. The whole experience made me extremely uncomfortable. It was like digging through someone's diary. The fact that so much of it revolved around casual discussions about eating disorders just made everything worse. I realized that joking is a way to cope with trauma, but the amount of content posted to the subreddit, it made it seem less like a coping mechanism and more like a way to normalize it. Story 4. Years ago, there was a user called u/Michaela Does Rituals who was active in paranormal subs like r/3kings, and she would post stuff about her doing paranormal rituals, and she seemed to be getting progressively more freaked out after every ritual. Eventually, she just stopped posting completely, and everyone in the comments thinks that something evil followed her from one of the rituals she did. I remember reading her posts and feeling super creeped out afterwards. Story 5. Lynching and also public hangings in America. The last public hanging with a big crowd, celebratory picnics, photos taken as family mementos and for postcards to send to friends, was in Owensboro, KY in the late 1930s. Rainey Bethia wasn't the last person hung there, just the last public hanging that took place there. Hanging and lynching still went on in KY and all around the country. After that, Ida B. Wells' Red Record in the NAACP and Dubois study and expose on lynching was assigned to us in a class I was taking at the time. The connection to the town because of my KY family and the hanging there made me look into all of it and dwell on all of it much more deeply than was healthy or necessary. The LOC photos of the Owensboro hanging and several of the illegal lynching descriptions at the NAACP site, which back then we had to go to a library to see in books, are seared in my brain. Story 6. Family genealogy. It just seems to go back increasing in effort as the possible numbers of great-grandparents increase by powers of 2. My grandma got crazy into genealogy after helping my dad earn the merit badge in the 70s. I can't even begin to imagine how many hours and how much money went into her research. I know she made at least one international trip for research. Occasionally you'd walk into the office area at her house and there would be papers taped up everywhere with lines drawn all over the place, like she was tracking a serial killer. By the time she passed away, she had traced parts of our family back to the 1300s. This is definitely a rabbit hole I could find myself falling into, but I am glad she did it first. Story 7. During COVID, I binged true crime, especially stories from where I live. There was a nurse in 1962 named Alexandra Wivcharuk who went for a walk to mail some letters and went for a walk around her neighborhood in Saskatoon, SK, Canada. Her body was found 2 weeks later in a shallow grave by the river just blocks from home. The case is still unsolved, but Alexandra's surviving relatives have 3 prime suspects, one of whom is dead and one who was ruled out by DNA found in the 2000s when she was exhumed. Story 8. Prions. The worst one is Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease, CJD. Imagine one day you forget your birthday, and then the next you can't swallow food correctly. And every day after that, for the next 1 to 12 months, you suffer through mentally agonizing dementia-like symptoms and chronic insomnia, with no cure as your brain consumes itself. The cause? Nothing. It just happened. And then one day, once you've fully forgotten what it means to be human, you forget to exhale and die. Story 9. The Bitcoin Protocol Origin Documents. I was working in cryptography at a mid-level tech firm in 2007 when I stumbled upon a private forum where supposed cypherpunks were discussing a revolutionary financial system. Out of curiosity, I created an account and gained access to early drafts of what would later become the Bitcoin white paper, but with significant differences. The original protocol described a truly anonymous currency with built-in governance mechanisms and a link to physical gold reserves. The mathematics were elegant but terrifying in their implications. What scared me most was the identity verification section. It contained cryptographic signatures from 3 major intelligence agencies and references to Operation Panopticon. I downloaded everything I could before my access was mysteriously revoked. 2 days later, my apartment was broken into, but nothing was stolen. My laptop had been moved slightly, and the USB drive with the files was corrupted beyond recovery. When Bitcoin finally launched in 2009, it was a sanitized version. Satoshi wasn't a person, it was a committee pseudonym. The system we got was deliberately weakened and completely traceable by design. The real crypto revolution was intercepted and neutered. I don't discuss this anymore after receiving an unmarked envelope with photos of my family in 2013, but sometimes I wonder what would have happened if the original system had been implemented as designed. The blockchain we have today is just a controlled release of technology that was decades ahead of its time. Story 10. Choosing a psychology BA degree to do the 4th-year project class was such a waste. My project partner's English wasn't very good, and almost every class was a feedback session. Plus, I hate doing research essays and papers. The teacher was an old lady with a very old way of doing things in the class, before my time, but not very helpful. Now I get a $159 monthly fee every month to pay off the student debt, probably never pursuing psychology again. Story 11. Wildlife rehabilitation and bird rescues. There's some amazing people and amazing, wonderfully run organizations, but I've also seen far too many animal hoarding situations get funding from the government or community, all under the guise of being a rescue. It's not rescue if you take them from a crap situation and put them somewhere even crappier. Story 12. Pick-up artist theory. Being a super awkward teen back in middle school, I realized that I really didn't have any idea how to talk to or attract girls. Instead of just going and interacting with them more and talking to my buddies who were good with girls, I went to the internet, being the brainiac I am, and oh my god, pickup theory is a rabbit hole. I watched so many videos, read books over this crap, participated in message boards, the whole deal. I was way too young to be worrying over that type of crap, and it honestly messed up my head and my perspective on interacting with women and the way women think in general. It takes time to unlearn the crap that they teach you. Story 13. Essentially crash dieting. I wanted to lose weight, was impatient, and developed a very bad eating disorder. The thing about an ED though is that it's a mental illness with physical symptoms, and it's something you never fully recover from. With a great deal of time and effort, you learn to control it, sure, but it's something that'll haunt me forever. The horrible things that came out of it and everything I went through is something I wouldn't wish upon anyone. Story 14, competitive video games, StarCraft, CSGO, Dota, League ECT. Far more addictive than other games while simultaneously being less satisfying. The funny part is that for all the time I spent playing them, I have virtually no memories, because after a while it all starts to run together. Also, you convince yourself that it is something worthwhile, because look at all the money the pros make, but the truth is that pro gamers practice for like 8 to 10 hours a day and risk losing everything and making no money. I see a lot of kids who think that they can be low-L pros or something just by getting good, but the truth is that if you have a job or are in school, it's practically impossible. Glad I stopped. Story 15, Maple's story ruined my life. Sort of. I grew up playing MS from the age of 9 all the way up until I was 14. My obsession got to the point where I would basically eat very little at school, because I used my lunch money to buy NX cash. Christmas and Chinese New Year cash all went to feed my NX cash. I have a pretty big family, and I no longer get this amount of money ever since the economy tanked in 2008, but at one point in time I had $700. My grades weren't great at all. I became so engrossed in the game that I had very few friends in real life. If I did, they played Maple's story with me as well. It's not a big deal, but I've fallen in love hard with other online players. Embarrassingly, this was the result of my awakening when I was in my early teens and was a theme of the dreams I had at night while sleeping. Reading this, it feels like this is all very common for people who play MMOs. However, I do have an addictive personality, so for me, my hobbies are all or nothing. This is why I no longer game, because I am way too impulsive. Story 16, not breaking out of my comfort zone for so long. Avoiding socializing with other people. I've always been like that, and it makes it feel impossible to be any other way, because people just expect you to be like that, and you begin to not expect anything more out of yourself. I keep telling myself that, oh, after X thing, then I'll start talking to people more, but it just keeps getting put off. I just hope going away to college will help me get rid of this problem once and for all. I just want to be normal. Story 17. It's something I regret sometimes, but more often than not, I love it. Makeup. It's the most fun I've probably ever had. You can pamper yourself while you get ready for work. You can plan out an outfit with makeup. It's honestly such a worthwhile and sometimes overlooked skill. So the downside to it for me is that there's so much left for me to learn how to do. I still need to apply my eyes first so I can touch up the shadow I mess up on the sides of my lids, and God help me if I'm trying to attempt a look without eyeliner, because I use winged liner to tie everything together. What am I supposed to do without it? It can get pretty expensive, and on top of that, some people look down on makeup, and that always makes me feel pretty crappy. It just kind of makes me roll my eyes out of my head when people say, makeup makes you ugly, or you don't need makeup to impress people or whatever. I am not wearing all this for you or anyone else. I am wearing it for me. I wouldn't say I regret it. It's just exhausting sometimes since I don't really have anyone I can share it with, and I am broke. Story 18, freemium games, or specifically one. Seriously though, true, game addiction, especially with freemium games, gets super bad. You wind up playing it with every waking minute of your time, constantly tempted to spend just a little bit more. Too many times I have been woken up by my computer at 4 AM just from playing. The worst bit is the people who play are great people, but the game and company behind it are terrible. I don't regret quitting it in the least, but I do regret that I never said goodbye to my friends on it. Story 19, the SCP Foundation. It's a wiki site that hosts a vast number of intertwining stories and entries based around an organization that's a Men in Black or X-Files hybrid with the goal of securing, containing, and protecting normal reality from anomalies. They capture, when possible, cover up, and do research on everything from haunted houses and possessed dolls to hateful sentient stars and mind-altering internet memes. These stories are conveyed through database entries written as baseline instructions for containment and information on the anomaly in question. Story 20, Hydrino theory. Physicists hate it because it means that quantum mechanics and the standard model are wrong, so finding unbiased information about it is difficult. But if you have the mathematical background and are willing to do the research, then the deeper into it you go, the harder it becomes to refute. And it also means unlimited, pollution-free energy forever, unification of gravity with the other laws of nature, practical anti-gravity devices, a rational explanation for dark matter and solutions to pretty much all other scientific mysteries. Story 21, MRE unboxing vids. Basically, there is this fairly big channel I found randomly who opens and tastes military food rations from all around the world in a very serious and passionate way. You never see the face of the guy, and that's a plus for me since I don't like looking at people eating, and the sounds of the metallic tray and cans are incredibly soothing. He even tries bags of sealed MRE from the 80s sometimes. Story 22, I got totally obsessed with this group of people vlogging Amphi Festival and industrial dance get-togethers. I don't understand much German, don't like industrial music, and I think the dancing is ridiculous, but for some reason couldn't stop watching videos about it, and now I kinda wanna go to Amphi Festival. Even though it's 6,000 miles away, I don't like the music, and I don't do industrial dance. I am still not sure how I was so fascinated by it. Story 23, Fitness Dudes. Honestly, if you ignore BS, I can get you a six-pack in 1 week crap. You can find some people who have drastically changed their lives for the better by working out and changing what they put into their bodies. Learning about weightlifting, cardio, my specific macros or calorie count, and how to stay in a calorie deficit each week helped me lose 40 pounds, and I plan to lose a lot more. What I eat on the regular now includes more greens, healthier carbs, leaner meats, and drop sodas or unhealthy processed junk food. Just learning how to eat healthy and work out consistently will improve my life so much in the long run, and a lot of that is thanks to YouTube and of the decision to put what I was learning into practice. Story 24, I started with the term cross-examination, which is when the defendant's attorney asks questions to the witness to confirm details, or more often finding inconsistencies in the testimony to discredit the witness so that the case is more favorable to their side. Then I watched several lectures on cross-examination techniques and a few hour-long cross-examination footage from real court cases. Story 25. My rabbit hole is an obsession with locally made rap hip-hop videos. This portal into underground culture is mesmerizing, with an edgy rawness and insight into life outside of my experience. The antics with the dancing, motorbikes, guns, gangs, booty babes, throwing around cash, cops, dogs, beefs, poetry, beats, fashion is incredible for me to watch. It's fun to figure out where the vids were made around town. I am especially fond of the hard screamers. They are frightening. My heart races and I have trouble sleeping after watching these videos. My IG feed has never been better now that I am following these artists, the beat makers, the jewelry maker, the bodyguards. So much better than Netflix. Story 26. Back during World War II, the Armed Forces Radio Network aired a weekly program titled Command Performance. Many famous actors, singers, and radio program hosts performed on the program, including Jack Benny, Lucille Ball, the Andrews Sisters, Bing Crosby, Bob Hope, and others. It was broadcast on shortwave radio to troops fighting on both the European and Pacific fronts, and often catered to troops' requests, such as Ann Miller tap dancing in military boots or the sounds of the foghorns off San Francisco Bay. A lot of them have been uploaded to YouTube. One of my favorite episodes had Jerry Kalana with the actors from the NBC radio series Fibber McGee and Molly and Ethel Waters. Story 27, The Life of Chris Chan. Good God, imagine a train wreck moving a centimeter an hour, surrounded by people with clipboards taking down every single minute detail and writing them in the snidest possible way. I discovered him when I was in high school a few years back and read every single thing there was to read about him. He is a case study on insanity, poor parenting, bad mental health, self-absorption, and assholery. It's glorious. Every bit is sickening to read, and you won't stop reading. Just make sure you read when no one's around. Story 28, The Child Immortality Project. Essentially, it's this, I guess you call it a philosophy, that states that the only reason we die is because we are told as children that we are going to. The whole thing consists of thousands of web pages, complete with rambling text and creepy photos of the project's founder, who has made it his life's work to spread the truth about our true nature. A lot of people think it's a front for a worldwide CP ring, but I like that we can live forever, if we believe we can. Story 29, I was at a PC cafe where you can rent a computer per hour, and was greeted by an open computer next to mine with a white page with a flashing link in the rainbow that said, "Clicks me to go down the rabbit hole." This was about 10 to 12 years ago, and I clicked it because I was stupid and young. Once I clicked it, the page turned to a spiraling pattern page in fantastic colors with a little duck in the middle on the drums, and I remembered something about a devil ducky. Discovering something so weird, I brought my friend over and we stared at that little duck for about 10 minutes until we were teary-eyed and confused. I don't know, that pretty much was the strangest thing I've seen on the internet. Story 30, Raw Vegan Videos on YouTube. I remember watching Free Lee's videos and I couldn't stop watching. Not because I believed it, but because I was completely floored at the fact that she claimed that going raw cured her bulimia, anorexia, depression, IBS, problems, candida, being overweight, insomnia, drug addiction, localized pain, STDs, body odor, bad vision, mental illnesses, acne, dry skin, and at least 100 other alleged afflictions. She must have been the sickest individual alive. And other seriously wacky nonsense like people who eat vegetables don't need to shower, and World War II sufferers may have had thyroid problems and look at how skinny they were. It's absolutely insane how some people on the internet will actually go above and beyond to create some crazy idea and cover all bases. These days, she doesn't make videos like that anymore, but it wasn't very long ago that she did. Story 31, I can find all sorts of weird crap. I researched my no stories. One, I went from Morgoth to Find Your Orc Name to Tolkien Wiki to maps of Poland, which then led me to a map of Middle Earth to a map of medieval Poland in Polish, which I don't speak, but I know my grandmother or grandfather or great aunt did. Too bad they're all worm food and I can't learn it from them. Then it was to Polish girl names, the Polish dictionary. Then I started watching The Hobbit and taking notes. Story 32. There was one in the late 90s about the connections between the IOC, the Catholic Church, the Illuminati, and the Third Reich. It was wacky, and it all made perfect sense if you were paranoid to start with. It also involved modern at the time stuff like images nested in images, so you wouldn't notice there were actually two links in a picture, not one, and tricks like that. It did actually lead to very interesting pages, but whether or not there was one iota of truth to them, I have no idea. The weirdest thing about it was that yes, the links were actually on sites of the organizations they named. Crap, like go 300 pixels left and 200 pixels up from some name-specific point and you'll find a link hidden behind 4 pixels of that image on the IOC site would take you to a site of some RC sect, where there would be a hidden link that would take you to a WP site, etc. I haven't been able to find that network again, so I think it was dismantled after it went public, as in a few hackers, geeks, and nerds discovered it and shared it between themselves. Story 33, I really enjoy going on a city's Craigslist, then 2 rooms are shared, or whatever it is for finding a roommate, and then typing words like warning or beware in the search to see what kind of horror show nightmare roommate scenarios people have decided to write about. It's usually some juicy headline like, "Warning, do not rent from this woman, she is a psycho." And after reading it, it's always a guess to decide who is the actual crazy person, the landlord or tenant. Could be a bitter ex, tenant, or a scam, or whatever. but it's an easy way to dive quickly into some weird corners of the internet that are filled with drama. Story 34. Andre Arctic Balloon Expedition. Dumb, then numb, as though he could fly a balloon to the North Pole. They had cyanide capsules and all, in case they crashed and were about to freeze to death, or get eaten by a polar bear during a 3-month night. He and his assistant somehow managed to do both. Plot twist. Andre, the worst captain of all time, noticed the balloon was leaking the night before they were about to leave, pumped it up a bit, and said, "Screw it, that'll do." It did not. The Norwegian Brattfog expedition, studying the glaciers and seas of the Svalbard archipelago from the Norwegian sealing vessel Brattfog of Ålesund, found the remains of the Andre expedition on 5 August 1930. Kvitoya was usually inaccessible to the sealing or whaling ships of the time, as it is typically surrounded by a wide belt of thick polar ice and often hidden by thick ice fogs. However, summer in 1930 had been particularly warm, and the surrounding sea was practically free of ice, as Kvitoya was known to be a prime hunting ground for walrus, and the fogs over the island on that day were comparatively thin. Some of the crew of Brattfog took this rare opportunity to land on what they called the Inaccessible Island. Story 35. GeoGuessr, a web game that uses Google Street View. They drop you somewhere 100% random in the world, and by just walking around you have to figure out where you are and place a pin on the map to guess. You can just aim for what country you think you're in if you want, but I got ridiculously obsessed with getting it correct, with pinpoint accuracy down to 1 meter. I would sometimes spend 3 to 4 hours walking miles and miles around, somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Africa or Taiwan or whatever, looking for enough clues for me to be able to figure it out. Oh, and it's worth noting this was at the very beginning of the pandemic when I first started working from home, so yeah, I abused it a little.